Cowboys Nation, strap in because this ain't your typical off-season news update filled with hype videos and OTA standouts. No, sir. This one has a twist, a sharp left turn down memory lane and into the chaotic spirit of the 90s Cowboys. Yep, the ones who won rings but couldn't stay out of headlines, the ones who dominated on Sundays and made courtrooms their side hustle on Mondays. And now, here we are in 2025, watching history eerily echo as the modern Dallas Cowboys find themselves once again flirting with trouble, controversy, and that strange cocktail of stardom and recklessness. And while I almost didn't want to make this video, because I ain't here to clown a man when he's down, and because I know how quick people are to throw on a jersey of judgment, I realize this is news and not just any news, but breaking, raw, real news that's going to dominate headlines whether we like it or not. Because this involves a starting player, a Pro Bowl caliber return specialist, a key offensive weapon in the making, and a man who, just hours ago, found himself behind bars instead of behind the Cowboys huddle. So let's go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Yes, folks, Cavante Turpin, number 9, the human joystick, the return maestro, the man with the kind of speed that makes the turf blush, was arrested early this morning in Allen, Texas on 2 charges: possession of marijuana under 2 ounces and the unlawful carrying of a weapon. And look, I get it. You hear that and some of y'all instantly go into one of 2 camps. Either cut him, he's a liability, or man, that ain't even a big deal. He just trying to live. But hold your fire, because there's nuance here, there's context, and there are real questions that need to be asked. Not just about Turpin and his judgment, but about how the Cowboys, this coaching staff, and this front office respond in moments like this. When a player stumbles, when PR takes a hit, and when the culture that Mike McCarthy and now Brian Schottenheimer have been trying to establish gets put under the microscope. And before we dive into the legalities, the history, the implications, just know this. This ain't no hit piece. This ain't no agenda. This is just me talking straight with y'all. Cowboys fan to Cowboys fan, because when one of ours gets locked up, when one of ours is facing charges, it affects all of us, especially when it's a guy who was supposed to take a leap this year on offense, a guy who had reportedly been getting more reps in the slot, a guy who might have been that secret sauce we were planning to spring on defenses in 2025. And now, instead of planning packages, we're planning bail hearings. And look, let's keep it real. The weed? Man, that ain't even shocking anymore, especially not in 2025 when half the country has dispensaries across from their Whole Foods, and even the NFL has loosened its stance. But the gun, that's the one that throws a wrench into everything. Because Allen, Texas is not Oak Cliff, it's not South Dallas, it's not some area where you're walking around paranoid about your safety. Allen is country clubs and HOA meetings and soccer moms and Range Rovers. So why was Cavante Turpin rolling around at 6 a.m. with a firearm in the car? That's the head scratcher. That's the part that makes even the most sympathetic fans pause and ask, what are you doing, bro? Because yeah, you're a professional athlete. Yeah, you've got fans, and yeah, you might have enemies, but you also have resources, bodyguards, drivers, security details, all the things that could prevent you from ever being the one pulled over with weed and a pistol. So what's really going on behind the scenes? And I'm not here to speculate wild or make accusations, but I do know this. This isn't the first legal issue on Turpin's resume, because back in 2018, he was arrested for assault on a family member, pleaded guilty, Class A misdemeanor, did his time and moved forward. And the Cowboys knew that when they signed him, they knew the baggage, the potential PR hit, and they still brought him in 4 years later, which means they believed in his redemption arc. They believed he'd turned a corner, and maybe he has. Maybe this is just a dumb one-off mistake. Maybe it's nothing more than an off-season misstep that gets quietly resolved by training camp. But then again, maybe it's not, because in today's NFL, perception matters almost as much as performance. And when a guy with a prior gets caught with a weapon, it's not just about what happened, it's about what it looks like happened. And that opens up a Pandora's box for Jerry Jones and company, for the PR team, for the coaching staff, and especially for new OC Brian Schottenheimer, who's now got to decide whether he makes a statement, Whether he benches the guy or whether they sweep it under the rug like some fans fear and pretend like it never happened. But let me tell you something. This ain't going to be swept under the rug. Not when Cowboys fans are this plugged in. Not when Cowboys haters are this loud. And certainly not when you've got dudes like me breaking the story before anyone else even clicks record. And yeah, maybe I'm out here playing the role of the bad guy for being the one to report it. But someone's got to do it. Someone's got to have the guts to say, this happened, even if it makes us all a little uncomfortable, even if it puts one of our own in the hot seat, because that's how accountability works. And again, this ain't no roast. This ain't no smear campaign. I want Cavante to succeed. I want him to bounce back. I want him on that field, torching defenders and flipping field position like only he can. But I also want him to grow up, to protect himself better, to make smarter decisions because, man, you just got paid. You've got the world at your feet, and you out here driving yourself around with a pistol and a dime bag? You could have paid a driver for a year with what your cleats cost. And look, I get it. NFL life is stressful, pain management is real, pressure is intense, and the off-season can feel like a mental war zone. But that's when you lean on your team, your circle, your support system. Not a 40 caliber and a blunt, and it's moments like these that reveal what type of leadership this locker room really has. Are McCarthy and Schottenheimer going to just pull Turpin into the office and say, get it together? Or are they going to make an example of him, suspend him for a game or two, or maybe hit him with some internal fines to send a message to the rest of the roster that being a Cowboy means more than just making highlight reels? It means representing the star on in and off the field. And don't even get me started on what the NFL might do, because you already know they love targeting Cowboys players like it's a game of whack-a-mole. Just ask Zeke, who caught a 6-game suspension for flashing a girl at a parade, or Randy Gregory, who missed what felt like half his career for smoking weed. So Turpin might be in for something more than a slap on the wrist, depending on how loud this gets. And if the media vultures circle around this like they usually do, you better believe Goodell and them are going to want their pound of flesh. But my hope, my sincere hope, is that this just becomes a teachable moment, that Turpin gets a lawyer, pays a fine, attends whatever classes he needs to, and gets back to business, because the Cowboys need him in 2025. He's not just a specialist anymore. He was on track to be part of the passing game rotation, a jet sweep threat, a guy who could be lethal in the red zone if schemed correctly, and now all that is in jeopardy if this spirals out of control. So let this be a wake-up call. Let this be the last dumb off-season headline we read about before camp. And let the Cowboys finally get back to talking about football instead of felonies.